Hey everybody, Jeremy here, founder of Task Magic with Kyle.
How's it going?
Okay, cool. We'll get right into it. In this video, top to bottom-esque, we are going to show you how to create and manage your workspaces in the Task Magic app. Kyle, is there any pro tips you have outside of me saying something like, once you come to, you will be at, do we create a default workspace now, Kyle, or do we make them name their first workspace?
We create a default one.
Okay, great. So you will be given a default workspace first right after onboarding. So once you're onboarded, you'll see a video on how to get started and you'll have to watch that. Then a video on cookies and you'll have to watch that. Then you pick a guided tutorial. Once you're done with a guided tutorial, a workspace is created for you, and that automation that you started with will be in that default workspace. Is that correct, Kyle?
Correct.
Great. Now, how you do it normally when you re-log into the app or go back to the home page, here's home. Okay. Now, you will see your workspaces here, your teammates, and new automation. Okay. Now, above that is new workspace. So this is one way to create a new workspace. So you go on home, and in the upper right-hand corner is new workspace. Create your workspace. Workspace name, Kyle Test Space. Create workspace. It says creating your workspace, and then boom, look, it shows up here, Kyle Test Workspace. And if I click on it, it knows we don't have any automations inside of it. So it says, here's 3 ways to automate. This is the default screen: guided templates, web activity, or apps. So we will go through and, for instance, and make a guided template. Okay. And then you can go through all of these guides here and then figure out which one works best for you. Okay. Done. And we're not going to go through that. We'll do that another one. But see, if you click this workspace, which is my workspace, all of the automations underneath here in the left sidebar. Okay. So this grayish dot here, and if they're gray, it means they are off. And if they are green, it means they are on and active. They're live. Is that correct, Kyle?
Correct.
Okay. There'll always be some kind of indicator if this changes a little bit down the line based on feedback. But you'll see all your workspaces here on the left sidebar. We make it so you cannot minimize this. Why did we do that, Kyle?
I think it's because people were getting lost and not knowing how to edit their automation after they clicked inside of it. Like they'd click into an automation here, and then they wouldn't know how to edit the settings, and they wouldn't go back to the automation, and all of this would get lost.
Correct. So here are all the settings that they need for each automation. So under each workspace, you will find this automation, this automation. These are all different automation names. And if I click on this one, I see the settings: play steps, add proxy, manage trigger, task history, recapture steps, all the settings we used to have inside of here that cluttered it up. But watch, when I click on Jeremy Test, Jeremy Test is highlighted. This automation shows up, and all the settings that I need to control this automation are there. The reason why we don't allow you to minimize this while this is open is because you need these settings, and a lot of people were getting lost. So you need these settings. When here's an automation. Here's a new automation. I come here, I have these 3 options. I can rename it here, and here's my workspace as well and the breadcrumbs. So we don't allow you to minimize it, but you can scroll. Okay. So boom, you scroll, and here's the new automation that we did, Kyle Test. Okay. So now we have Kyle Test open, and then we can add a new automation right here. So Kyle, is there any other way? Okay, here we go. Here's another one. You click these 3 dots. You can rename the automation. You can add members to that you can rename that workspace. You can add members to that workspace or manage members in the workspace, or delete that workspace. Now, Kyle, can you delete a workspace if it has automations inside of it?
You can now. We were back and forth on that. we had that because people would end up with like 50 automations and they'd have to go and delete every individual one. So you can delete that at the moment. We
So
might
do we have a sanity check?
um I think we have a sanity check when you're deleting everything, but I don't think we have a sanity check reminding you about the
So if
automation.
I delete, are you sure you want to delete this workspace? And if I click delete, does it ask me to confirm?
This would delete the workspace, so it should add more here then.
So we will probably add a scroll bar there to create some kind of sanity check to where you're like, okay, great, but you can delete them with 100 live automations in it, right, Kyle?
The automations would be turned off, but yes. So
But
that it
would they
doesn't like
be,
use your cloud time.
but if I come in here and I have 50 automations that are live and delete this, I delete the workspace that those live automations are in, what happens?
Actually, I wanna check. I think when we remove the sanity check, when you delete the automations, it moves them all to another workspace, but I'm not positive.
When you mean when you delete the workspace?
So, like, if you were to delete my works, I need to double check what this is, and we can decide which way we wanna go with this because this kinda changed a little bit, but I believe what it is if you wanted to delete the workspace, all of the automations inside that workspace would get moved to either an empty workspace or another workspace. So
Okay,
the
so
automation
just keep an eye on that. We'll add a sanity check just in case. So there will be like just a slider bar, so they can't fat finger it or fat click it. You know.
yeah,
Um, so cool. So that'll be there. Now, is there anything else with workspaces, Kyle,
I
that you
think that's
think?
it.
Rename, adding
Um,
members to a workspace, right? So here we have Kyle Space, rename, so members, okay? Remember, in a previous video, we added members to the My workspace, but in the new workspace that we just added, Kyle Test Space, it just has me here. So it doesn't have the other 2 or 3 people that I invited. So that makes sense. Here you can invite, manage. I can't delete this one because that is me. So any other ones, and then you can also, I guess, lastly, because there's 2 ways to create a workspace. One is from home, boom, new workspace. And then one is here under workspaces, you'll see create new workspace. You click it, you name it, and then you're off and running. Anything else to add, Kyle?
nope, that covers it.
Okay, that is creating new workspaces. Let us know in the comments, both in this article and in the YouTube video, on if you have any questions on how this works.